Welcome to On-Site Insights, a series of podcasts by On-Site Ventures about deep tech and the people behind it. We invest in the next groundbreaking idea.
Welcome everyone to the third episode of On-Site Insights. On-Site Insights is a series of LinkedIn audio events with the goal to bring our portfolio companies and the people behind these companies into the spotlight and give them a platform to present themselves. For the third episode, we have Maximilian Brinkmann with us today. Maximilian is the co-founder and CEO of Refined Laser Systems, a German-based startup building the future of biophotonics. Thanks for being with us today, Maximilian.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here.
All right, so we can kick this off now. We like to start this format on a more personal note. And can you start by telling our listeners a bit about yourself and your background before founding Refined Laser Systems?
Sure. So I'm Max, 37 years old. I'm married. I have a beautiful wife and a 4-year-old daughter. When I'm not working, I really enjoy being out in the nature and doing sport. So hiking, running, and cycling are very relaxing for me. I'm from a small town in East Westphalia, but live in Münster, Germany since more than 12 years now. I studied physics here and did a PhD in physics, in which I specialized in laser and microscope development, which eventually led in the foundation of Refined Laser Systems.
And could you also share the founding story of Refined Laser Systems? We talked a little bit before, and you said you've known your co-founder Tim from your PhD studies. And when did you decide to start Refined Laser Systems?
That is correct. I have known Tim for about 13 or 14 years now. He also studied physics here in Münster, and we worked in the same institute, the same research group doing our PhDs. So we have always been working on very closely together on similar topics. And at the very beginning of Refined, which was around 2017, there were a few milestones that encouraged us to found Refined. One was, as usual in science, we presented our results at scientific conference. And we received great feedback from fellow researchers about our research, which not only showed us how to further improve our ideas, but also that there was a basic demand, or that there is a basic demand for what we were doing. We were even asked outright by one fellow researcher if we could copy our setup and supply it to him. And this motivated us for the first time to think about pursuing our research, our developments commercially. And this idea of turning our research into more than just publications felt very exciting. So with the very little market insight we had, we wrote down a very simple business plan. And as a first step, we took part in small local business plan contests, which I can highly recommend because it helped us to think more about the business side, to think more about our ideas, and we received great feedback. And with this great feedback, we went along and founded Refined Laser Systems.
And to the keyword business plan, what I think is really interesting about you is that you've done your PhD, then you founded Refined Laser System together with Tim, and only afterwards you decided to do an MBA as well. Did you decide to do an MBA because you felt that it was essential to complement yours and Tim's physics background with business expertise?
Yes and no. So on the one hand, I've always been very interested in business and management topics. For example, during my physics studies, I already took part in different seminars in a seminar series called Business Administration for Natural Scientists, or another one about financial mathematics. So if we hadn't had the idea for Refined, I might have done an MBA anyways, simply because it interests me, which was, of course, also one factor that motivated me to found the company. But on the other hand, Tim and me have gained a lot of valuable experience in the field of business administration in the first years of our company, in the form of learning by doing. And this worked very well. We succeeded to run the company for a couple of years and to grow organically. But the bigger we grew, or the bigger our ambitions grew, the more I felt that a, let's say, sound academic basis would be very helpful. And this turned out to be true. So the MBA program was focused on both management and innovation, which fits very well with our current phase, in which we want to scale up, but also continue to innovate and further develop our technology for the medical market. So looking at topics such as marketing, strategy, innovation management, customer orientation, but also resource and production management in a structured way helped me a lot to understand them better and to most of all to see the connections in between these topics, which is, I think, required to manage a business.
You were a spin-off from the University of Münster, and at OnSite, as you know, we constantly also work with spin-offs and see that the process of spinning out can be really lengthy and challenging. How was this experience for you?
Well, sure. It is lengthy and challenging, or in our case, it was lengthy and challenging, but I wouldn't be too negative about it. So I would say that a spin-off is a very possible and viable pathways. Sure, that there are a lot of hurdles besides the technical developments. For example, especially in Germany, there's a lot of bureaucracy when founding a company, or in our case, there was a bit of tug of war when it came to licensing the patents from the university. We also experienced quite some reservation towards our young company at the beginning. But I think this is nothing that can't be overcome if you are truly committed and convinced of your idea, especially because we also received very helpful support at our university, or in an accelerator program. And another big factor which was really helpful for us was a so-called research transfer project, which is a publicly funded project in Germany, funded by the national government. And the aim of this project is to convert academic findings into technical products. Again, this was very helpful for us, and it gave us the financial freedom and the access to laboratories at the university to develop our first commercial prototype without any personal liabilities, but in a safe space. Yeah, so to summarize, I would say there are of course some hurdles, but this is nothing that can't be overcome if you're really committed to your startup.
That's good to hear. And it's also good that such programs exist that help founders at the universities. And you said it before, one of your personal motivator to founding Refined Laser Systems was your interest in the business side of things. What else? What kind of other motivators did bring you to found Refined Laser Systems?
Yeah. Well, so firstly, I find it very fulfilling to witness an innovation process from an idea all the way to a product, to talk to potential customers and optimize the added value in that way. I mean, to see how your own idea is taking shape, how it's growing and gradually becoming in demand is I think very fulfilling. And I think that a startup is a great place to realize and fulfill your own ideas. And secondly, at some point when we realized a few years ago that we have a technology that might really have a positive impact on healthcare and improve someone's life, that was also very motivating and still is very motivating.
That might be also, as you already said, still the motivators that push you every day to keep going with your startup. Shifting gears a little bit now, Could you please explain what refined laser system actually does and what's unique about your products?
Sure. So to explain this, I usually like to start by drawing an analogy that the concept of cancer surgery today, or the concept of cancer diagnostics today, reminds me of outdated analog photography. So today, during a tumor surgery, it is often difficult to assess whether a tumor has been completely and correctly removed until a sample of the tissue, of the tumor tissue, is sent to the pathology lab for processing and for diagnosis. This uncertainty reminds me of these days of analog photography, when the quality of a photo could only be judged after the film had been developed in the labs. And in the medical context, these waiting times lead to unnecessary prolongations or even the necessity to repeat surgeries. And in contrast, refined laser systems offers a technology to take a digital photo of the tumor directly in the surgery room, diagnose it right away, and in that way save clinics several $100 million in cost caused by these waiting times, and reduce the secondary surgeries. This technology, our technology, is based on a kind of laser microscopy. So with our proprietary lasers, we can excite and detect intrinsic molecular vibrations in the tissue. These vibrations are very characteristic, like a fingerprint, and allow us to identify different components in the tissue. So broadly speaking, it allows us to identify healthy and cancerous tissue. The physical effect behind it is called simulated Raman scattering, or short SRS. And like I said, it gives detailed insights into the chemical composition of the sample.
And you will soon provide your first SRS imaging device in the clinical setting. What can clinicians anticipate when they incorporate your device in their practice?
Correct. It's very exciting for us right now. Although I have to clarify it a little, we will deliver a prototype for clinical trials, for clinical studies. We are still working on receiving the regulatory certification for everyday use in medical practice. But anyways, that doesn't change our value proposition. So today's gold standard for cancer diagnostics requires time-consuming preparation steps. For example, the tissue has to be transported to the pathology department, where it has to be prepared in a complex way. Especially, it has to be stained with various contrast agents to reveal tissue structures, and then looked at with a microscope to make the diagnosis. And despite many advancements, this process still typically takes up to 10 hours or even delays, leading to these waiting times, which I've mentioned before. And in contrast, our device is designed in such a way that fresh tissue samples can be placed in the device directly at the patient's bedside, analyzed using our laser technology, and diagnosed in only a few minutes. So we can read out the necessary information for the diagnosis without contrast agents. And in that way, we can avoid most of the time-consuming and labor-intensive steps. In this way, we can shorten the time to diagnosis by up to 5 days, which in turn means that hospital capacities can be used and utilized much more efficiently, and even these mentioned secondary operations can be avoided because the surgeon receives detailed information directly during the operation, for example, about the exact margins of the tumor, and the surgeon can therefore remove the tumor with absolute certainty.
I would also like to transition a little bit to the bigger picture now. Where do you see biophotonics in general heading in the next few years?
That's a very good question. Well, biophotonics is an invaluable tool in biomedical research for many years now, because it offers a few very unique advantages. So, for example, light is mostly non-destructive and allows contactless analysis of various material. Depending on the application, light allows deeper insights, meaning to receive more information from various biomedical systems without destroying or manipulating that system, and often even without the need for consumables. Or on the other hand, light can be used to activate, move, or manipulate biomedical systems, and can be destructive if wanted in a very precise and controllable way. And therefore, I'm seeing some very promising applications in, for example, medical imaging, diagnostics, therapeutics, personalized medicine, or environmental safety. And having worked in this area for some time now, I have witnessed that biophotonic technology took a big leap in the last years from, let's say, experimental applications in the development stage into almost mature applications that can be used routinely in various settings. And I believe that these technical advancements will continue, and that biophotonics will revolutionize many aspects of healthcare research and industry over the next few years.
And where do you see refined laser system in that big picture, or more precise, what is your vision for refined laser systems?
That is, of course, a great example on how biophotonics will revolutionize aspects of healthcare. So yeah, our vision is certainly to transform the pathology landscape. We believe that our technology is an almost perfect tool to break up and digitize the old processes, which I've described before. We want to do this by supplying the necessary tools to help pathologists and surgeons to meet the challenges and reduce patient stress and healthcare costs. So to say it boldly, I believe that our diagnostic system will be in every hospital, in every tumor center one day, and that we will connect surgeons and pathologists worldwide. And then medical professionals will no longer need disposable staining kits to do an diagnosis, but rather image processing algorithms to evaluate our data.
And we shift gears now a little bit again. You have raised a seed round in 2022 from investors such as Apex or HTGF, and of course OnSite. And how was your experience during the fundraising with VCs in general?
I would say that overall our experience with fundraising has been very positive. Well, of course, it was our first time raising funds, so it was not too easy at the beginning. But we, at the beginning, we leveraged our own network to get in contact with the first couple of VCs. Our pitch was not perfect at that time, but we got very helpful feedback. And then I think the key was when the first investor committed to a potential investment and then used his network to put us in contact with more potential interest VCs, which at the end helped a lot to close the round. And since then, all our seed investors have been very helpful with their feedback for sharpening our business case and for building our company.
And what is up next? Can you maybe elaborate a bit on the next steps for refined laser systems and where you will be heading, let's say, in the next 1 to 2 years?
Yes, as I said, it's quite an exciting time right now. So we have had a lot of contact with clinics in recent months, with medical professionals. We presented our technology to them and received a lot of interest for joint clinical studies. Our therapy development manager, Steffen, who before he joined Refined worked in sales and product management for MedTech for several years. He says that it has never been so easy for him to get an appointment with a chief physician, with a head of medical departments. So there's a lot of interest, and we are very excited to release our prototype for clinical diagnostics to more clinical partners in the coming months, and to validate our medical use cases. And also, we will start fundraising next month for our Series A. This is kind of a big announcement, and the Series A will enable us to finish product development, receive certification and enter the market. And in addition to that, we will continue to increase our sales in the life science. So over the last years, we have built up a good reputation in the life science sector and are currently receiving a lot of inquiries for lasers and microscopes, such that I'm very confident that we will more than double our revenue compared to last year.
That's good to hear from an investor perspective, and quite exciting news. And are there any reflections from your first fundraising that you take on now when you raise for the Series A? So are there any learnings?
That's always a hard question, I think. Well, for the fundraising, of course, it's very important to be prepared, to have a good pitch, to have a good data room. But in general, during a startup phase, I think there are some things that you can't learn ahead. There's not always a priori knowledge, and that some things that just have to be learned on the way. One advice which I always like to give is that you should talk to your partners, to your customers, and so on very early as possible. Listen to them and develop your business model accordingly.
With that advice, I think we can conclude our audio event. Thank you so much for participating, Maximilian, and thank our listeners. And we will see you at the next LinkedIn audio event again. Have a nice afternoon.
Thank you also very much for the invitation and for listening.
That was On-Site Insights, a series of podcasts by On-Site Ventures about deep tech and the people behind it. For more information on our portfolio companies and investment strategies, visit our website onsite.vc and follow us on LinkedIn at On-Site Ventures.